Hey everybody, it is Libby with Fearlessness. What is fearlessness? It's the underlying grit that empowers us as entrepreneurs to keep forging ahead. Even when hope seems distant, it's the courage to walk through those fires of hell, knowing that we'll come out better and stronger on the other side. Stay tuned and learn how to get fearlessness. Again, I'm Libby DeLucien, your host, and we have a very special guest today. Holly, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
My name is Holly Silva, and I actually co-own a cleaning business on Long Island with my best friend. It is called Chores and More. I'm also a fellow podcaster. I'm very multi-passionate, and we've been running our business for 6 years, and it did take a lot of fearlessness, or actually just maybe doing it with fear, to get where we are. And I'm really excited to be here, Libby. Thank you so much for having me on.
Awesome. We're happy to have you. And so I'm excited to talk about, on the podcast, the struggles, especially doing it with a friend. The whole 5-year marker, like businesses aren't even profitable or don't make it through 5 years, like the percentage of businesses. So you're a fairly new business in business standards. So we can talk about some of those things. But let's just dive in and talk about like what is probably like the biggest learning lesson that you've learned when it comes to starting a business with a friend.
Ooh, that's
and your friend may watch this.
Well, I'm very blessed in that my friend and I, we tend to be on the same page majority of the time. We both are productive in the same way. We work well under deadlines. Sometimes it's a little bit of a problem though, because our quick start mode is always activated, and we pretty much lack almost all the time on doing like research to see if something is actually like a good idea and going to work, because we're both visionaries. But it's been good. The thing that is really important to know when you are running a business with somebody, is you really have to know the person's intentions. You have to make sure that you share the same core values. That is super important. If you don't, you will not succeed running a business with somebody else. And I think that the other important thing is having open communication with each other, even if you don't agree. That rarely happens between us. Again, I'm very lucky, but when we don't agree on something, we are quick to say it out loud. There's no passive aggressiveness. There's no resentment or anything like that. We just hash it out. We talk it through. We figure out why we're not agreeing and how we can get on the same page and move forward. And I think that is the most important thing. And communication is hard. It's honestly something you have to kind of learn. It doesn't come naturally. And and I feel like as women, we're quick to withdraw instead of just being open. Maybe it's because people perceive us as being mean or whatever it is. And I disagree with that wholeheartedly. I believe in just being open, talking about it, whether you agree or disagree, and be willing to also have an open mind to your business partner's idea. I think that's honestly the biggest learning lesson for us.
Starting with a partner, I think you had mentioned something that like really hits home for me, and that's aligning with the core values. It's huge. And it's hard to work with someone if you are both visionaries, if you're both direct. I think one thing I've learned in business, and you could agree to disagree or both agree, but like there can only be one person in charge, even if they're both visionaries. Like one person running the shots, and maybe that other visionary goes off and plays in like marketing or sales or ops. But it's like when there's two that are both leading equally, it can become very complicated.
It does. And I agree with this 100%. And one of the big things that we had to do, that we did 5 years in, so this took a long time and it was extremely helpful for us, is we had to establish role clarity. And we needed to know where our lanes were, what we were spearheading, what we were leading. A business has so many different components. And for the first 5 years, we had our hands in every single one together. And it did not work at all.
Yeah.
So once we broke it down, my partner's in charge of, for example, sales. She's mostly in charge of hiring. I, however, take care of the marketing, the social media, the schedule, things like that. So when I'm doing the schedule, she has no idea what I'm really doing, to be honest. And when she's making a sale, I don't even listen in on her calls. And being separate, but being able to come together on bigger projects is kind of what really helped us in terms of like, because we both couldn't lead all the same things. It was not working at all.
Yes, absolutely. One great exercise that helped me through this role is the book called Vivid Vision. It's a great book. It's a great exercise. I always look up top because my books are above me, but it's not up there. I must have it in my other office. The Vivid Vision exercise in the book, Cameron Herold, he wrote Second in Command as well. It's an amazing book if you're looking for like a second in command. But he wrote Vivid Vision, and that really helped me and my partner, who is now my ex-partner, really align on our vision, because we wanted the same thing at the end, but the journey of how we got there were completely different.
Yeah. I have to read that book for sure. I haven't read it, but I'm adding it to the list. I cried,
I got pissed off, I got happy, I got sad, I got emotional. It was a great book. And then another exercise I really want to encourage our listeners to do, this will help you if you have a partner, or this helps you just in life, is what are your personal core values, like personal values? And one good exercise is to then text like 3 of your friends, or just a group of friends, to say, how would you describe me using 3 words? And then see if they are resembled within those core values. Then you know you're not living within those values. It's kind of like a little test for yourself. Because I think in business, we can get distracted. We can, kind of divert from the vision. Shiny object syndrome is really, really common. And so I think, business with a partner is a whole another type of business, but also level of communication and transparency.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And going back to the core values, I love that you mentioned asking people to describe you. I was just talking to another colleague about this.
Using 3 words, though. Only 3 words.
3. I'm going to try it. It's a little scary, but I'm confident that both of us are living within our core values. And, we came up with our business core values together, and we walk that same line. We believe strongly in having an impact on the community and being kind and giving and all these things. And we both really find it important. And so, yes, we do get we both get the shiny object syndrome sometimes. And let's be real, like money drives us to a degree. But we have deeper whys than that together. And I think it really does help us get along and see the end vision of like where we want to be and where we want to go. And it keeps us following the same journey, which is good.
That being said, on your journey, during your journey, could you share an experience that you're probably the most proud of while running this company? Like in the last 6 years, what would you say that, that experience is throughout that journey of the 6 years?
Ooh, that's a really tough one. There's a few for sure. I'm one of those people who used to believe that I knew more than everybody else. And I used to think that I was the best at everything I did. And there came a point back in 2022 where I approached my partner and I said, I don't know what the hell I'm doing anymore. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't do this anymore. I need help. We need help. And we decided to join a coaching program, and actually giving up the control of my business and like what I was doing and realizing that I didn't know everything was probably the biggest like turning point in the business. And it sounds crazy to say I'm proud of admitting that I don't know everything, but for me, it was really important. It was really important to the growth of our business. And even when we joined our coaching program, I still thought I could do it better. I still tried to like put my own hands in it, and it didn't work. Yes. I tried to
Like somebody's
change it.
giving you the answer and you're like, ooh, but let me change it.
Yep. So that was the biggest turning point of our business. And now a big thing that I actually discussed with my coach earlier today is that I'm more emotionally regulated. And so is my business partner. We used to get very emotional. We still do sometimes. We're not perfect, but we are able to put out a fire in our business and do it with like mental clarity and stay emotionally regulated, not let it ruin the whole day, not let it ruin the trajectory of our week. And I just discussed this today, and it's such a big thing. Like, I pat myself on the back for this one because it has been, and again, I'm not perfect, but the improvement over the 6 years is insane. It's insane.
I'll have to agree. So I was running late to this podcast and I just said, oh my gosh, I'm running late. I'm so sorry. I was dealing with an employee issue and it was an employee complaint. And I said, oh my gosh, the complaint was like, I don't even know what it was because it was in circles. But the old version of me, and don't get me wrong, I kind of did want to lose it at times during that meeting just now. But the old me would have just lost it. I mean, like, during the meeting now, it's like you've matured emotionally to where you can handle some things of them calling you like you don't listen to nobody. And I'm like, how, if I'm in every meeting and I'm so active and I'm trying so hard, am I coming off this way? I just want to scream like, oh, but the new version of me, like, I'm like, oh, thank you for the feedback. Even though like you're dying inside.
It's true.
Like,
And you have to, the important thing is to take it, for me anyway.
Hey, this is William Tincup, and you should know about the You Should Know podcast. It's a topical, fun podcast with Ryan, myself, and a guest, or guests, plural sometimes, and we tackle the most timely topics of the day. Give it a look, give it a listen, and subscribe. Thanks.
The important thing is, even if I'm like internally screaming at something, I always try to figure out like, what can I learn from whatever happened? Like, what can I take away from this, and how can I use what happened to make me a better leader? And leading is one of my passions. It's something I love doing. I love having a team, and I love being their leader and encouraging them and inspiring them and like pushing them to do better and expect more of themselves. Like, I love all that. I live for it. Sometimes though, an employee does something, to put it bluntly, just piss you off. And it's easy to just be angry and be frustrated and put it out there, put that energy out there. And
yeah,
but for me, it's something I have to consciously do, is like reel it in
100%,
and just say, okay, I'm frustrated, like acknowledge the emotion that you're feeling. Of course, you don't want to like bottleneck yourself and bury everything, but say, okay, how could I prevent this? Or what could I have done differently? Or what can I do differently going forward? Like things like that. And just really like think everything through deeply.
Absolutely. In your journey over the last 6 years, what would you say is the most challenging, besides the employee things that we were just talking about and the struggles? And those employee things are mainly like me, like, and I think it's because we care so much and we're trying so hard and we don't know what we're doing and we're figuring it out as we go, and we're going to make mistakes. And when they bring us those mistakes that we've made, it kind of hurts more than it upsets. And so we act from hurt versus that emotional place. But in your journey over the last 6 years, what would you say is the thing that was the most challenging that you faced so far?
This is still very much a big challenge for me, if I'm being totally honest. And it is setting boundaries in my life. And that is with employees, and that is also with my clients. When I first started my business, it was me and my friend cleaning houses. And so it was easy to let people take advantage. It was easy to say yes to everything, even if it killed us, even if it hurt, even if like we couldn't, there was no way, we still figured out like a way to say yes. And there are a lot of boundaries that we are trying to set now as leaders, who thought when we first started hiring that being a friend was more important than being a leader. And now we're trying to set that boundary of like, how can we lead without being mean or being condescending or being like a dictator, right?
Yeah.
And then, with the clients, like, how can we say no to something, just an unreasonable ask, and set a boundary without seeming like we don't care about them or we don't want to help? You know what I'm saying? So I feel like boundaries in general in my entire life are the hardest challenge everywhere in my life. It's a hard challenge.
So one great thing that I've learned over the years is, because I come from sports, played basketball for years, coached basketball. And this is a great analogy, and maybe it will help you and your partner, is that, yes, when we were small, we want them to be family. But at the same time, like, I have family that I'm like, we're blood, but other than that, we're good. And then we have family that we're great. Like, we love them, but we can't choose our family. But if you look at it as like, you want to build a team, you want to be a part of a team with that sports analogy, because teams have so much power because you can choose who's on your team.
Yeah.
You can't really choose who's in your family. Like, I mean, you can disown your family, but they're still your family. But when you look at it from the sports analogy, like a team, you look at the way basketball teams and football teams are made and how close they are and how much time they spend and how they lift up each other. But also, you have to be accountable to be on that team, because if you're not a great player, you won't be picked. So using that sports analogy, there's a ton of great books on how to build a team. But if you take that philosophy for business, it's great, because you can have that warm feeling, like the feeling of support, but it creates that boundary of like the family versus the team boundary.
I'm working on this. I'm actually reading Radical Candor right now.
Oh, that's a good book. I have that.
Yeah. And it's definitely helping me figure out how to like gain respect, give respect, and do it in a way where we can be just like very real and raw with each other, but not in a way that like is fake or too much or like overstepping and things like that, or like just being rude. It's definitely helping me like with my, even just like down to like my verbiage, like even like just very specific things that I say or the way I say them. It's so hard though, because like to think every word that's coming out of your mouth is like, it's a struggle.
Yes, absolutely. It is a huge struggle. Like, and really overcoming that is so hard. And I think it just takes practice. And to be honest, our age. I think that's why you see a lot of great leaders. This is going to sound so funny. Are somewhat older. And it's because it comes with the maturity, the mental maturity, the wisdom, the practice, that it's really almost impossible to achieve without age being involved.
Yeah, I feel that. And sometimes I feel like I get imposter syndrome myself, because I have employees who are older and who have more like life experience than me and things like that. And I'm like, am I a fraud?
Oh, I get that every day. I get that all the time. Because WootRecruit is a software. So I own WootRecruit. I own Organize It, Organized Service Company. Software it's a SaaS. And I've never owned a SaaS. Like, we built this from the ground up, and I have no clue at what I'm doing. Most of the time.
I find that hard to believe. WootRecruit is amazing. I'm a fellow customer here. So.
But it's like, I have no clue sometimes what I'm doing or in the decisions we make. And then sometimes they get questioned, or they're like, oh, well, why are we doing it like that? I'm like, I don't know, because I want to. Like, I do pay a lot of money for coaching and consulting to help me in the SaaS company so that we have some direction, but I have that imposter syndrome like all the time. We had someone on our podcast a couple weeks ago, and she was great. And she had talked about, she calls it the little girl syndrome. And I'm like, what is that? And I thought it was like the best description that I probably ever heard of when it comes to like the little girl syndrome. Her name was Karina. So she's on one of our past episodes, but she goes, yeah, sometimes I wake up and I look in the mirror and I get dressed She owns a pretty successful like title company. And she goes, what am I like? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just a widow girl. Like, I'm just like, how did I get here? I have employees and I'm responsible for feeding them and their families. And she goes, yeah, I call it the little girl syndrome. And I thought that is the best analogy I've ever heard of imposter syndrome as far as women in business go, because I think we have a different mental struggle when it comes to men. We lack that natural confidence because we're more nurturing and caregivers. And so I feel like it is a real struggle, especially for women in business.
Yeah, I relate to that very hard. Very, very hard. The little girl syndrome. I feel that. And I like that too. I like that analogy. That's very relatable.
So I use it with my husband all the time. I'm just a widow girl. Like she said it with like a little girl, and it was hilarious. It was great.
That is great.
So let's get into out of the little girl syndrome into managing risk. So as a business owner, we have risk all the time. But how do you manage or balance risk versus reward when making big decisions? Like when you're making a big decision, how do you manage like the risk versus what the outcome is going to like the reward of the outcome?
Libby, I don't think you want to talk to me about this, and I'm going to tell you why. I am one of those people. So I don't know if you've ever heard of, or you probably have heard of it. I don't know if any of your listeners know about the Kolbe assessment.
Oh, yes.
I took the Kolbe assessment and I scored almost to the top on the quick start, right? And I was pretty low on everything else. And what I learned that this means is that I don't do a lot of research before making a decision. If I see something in my brain and I can like dream it, I want to implement it. I want to do it. And the weighing risk, it doesn't come naturally to me. And I usually need to like actually talk to people who are a little bit better at this and like figuring out like, is this a good idea? My partner actually keeps me in check a lot of the time with this. She says, okay, wait, let's dial it back and let's like make some bullet points. Let's make some lists. Let's figure out
a pro and con list.
Idea. Yes, we're all about the pro and cons list here. And so she has to keep me in check. Our field manager is even more like very organized, and she's not the quick start type. So we often approach her collectively to say, what do you think about this? And sometimes she's very, very she's very honest, and she'll be like, terrible idea. Don't do it. Are you crazy? No. She's one of those people. But a lot of our big decisions actually did come from me and Laura, my partner, saying, let's just go for it. Let's just do it. And sometimes it doesn't work. But a lot of the times it does. We feel pretty confident when we're going into a new project or some kind of decision that we make. So I don't know. I don't know if this is like a good topic to talk to me about because I don't really weigh risk as much as I probably should.
But I think it's a great topic because I have the same. So I scored in transition with Kolbe, I think it's called. I had a 5-star 3. So 2 of mine came out inconclusive. I break most assessments, and most of them say it's because you're under stress or you're going through a life change, or I'm like, when are you not under stress? So with me, I have the same issue as I'm pretty fast at making decisions. But that being said, I have like a little decision-making framework. So that's why I thought your answer was great, because you have a framework, whether it's documented or not. You have a process that you go through so you're not impulsive or operating from emotion, which most entrepreneurs do. I always sleep on it, but I always talk to someone about it. Not necessarily because I want their feedback. I do, but it's saying it out loud processes it differently in your brain. When you say it out loud, then you start to think about it in a different way versus thinking it to yourself. And so I always talk through it with either, this can sound funny, my assistant, Marilyn, or my husband, Chris. We talk through it, and it's just to help me talk through it. Sometimes I love their feedback. Sometimes I don't take it at all. And I think just having that framework so you're not impulsive, operating from emotion, but at the same time, one of the greatest gifts that someone could have is making quick, decisive decisions. Because it's when we're slow to decide, it slows down the business and it stops innovation and creativity, and it becomes paralyzing.
Yeah, that's kind of, I love the way you put it though, that saying it out loud does it sounds different than it does in your head. And I always talk to somebody before I do anything. But I act quickly on the thought because well, first of all, according to my Colby assessment, and this has proven true in real life too, I operate better with urgency. Like if I have a deadline or if it feels urgent, I do it better. I don't know why. It's just the way my brain works. But I will not move forward with something unless I have some kind of either validation, whether it's from myself, like, oh, okay, this sounds good, putting it like out loud, putting it on paper, whatever, or from somebody else. And I have a lot of faith in the people around me. I really don't surround myself with people who would steer me wrong. I really don't. And I try so hard to like protect myself and like keep a tight knit circle. But I will not move forward with an idea if it doesn't sound good to me at the end of the day. And usually they have to help me like see it myself or, whatever the case is. So I think that's a good way to, thank you for saying that, honestly, because I always feel like, oh, I'm doing something crazy. I'm crazy. So, but breaking it down actually is very helpful. So thank you for that.
Awesome. You're welcome. Going through this experience, what would you say is the most valuable lesson that you have learned?
Oh, that's a tough one. That's a really tough one. The most valuable lesson I've learned. So
put me on the one that comes to mind.
Well, this kind of just this. I have two of them actually. I have two of them, and this kind of goes back to the setting boundaries thing, which is like something that weighs heavily on me a lot, and it's been like at the forefront of my brain. Is the importance of just saying no. And it sounds like a cliche. I know it does. But I encourage everybody to get comfortable with saying no and protecting yourself and protecting your business and protecting your employees, right? And then the other really important thing that is so valuable to me is the importance of having procedures and processes in place in your business, which we never had for like 5 years. Like Laura and I were just flying by the seat of our pants doing whatever. We didn't even have a CRM until a year and a half ago, I think, like way too late into it. But just to have everything organized, and like, don't think that getting yourself organized isn't important. It probably doesn't feel important to like data entry and things like that. They probably don't feel important. Keeping notes, keeping lists, like things like that. It's so important. And to also know like what you're going to do in certain circumstances, like when things happen, or, as your business grows, like what are things that you like, what procedures are you going to have in place for your business? And we're still working on that. This is not something we've mastered yet, but it's really important because otherwise I will forget what I'm supposed to be doing every single day and I just won't know.
Absolutely.
So
yes.
Yeah.
So for me, organizing process and procedures are the things that I love to do. And if you don't, for our listeners, like if you don't have them and you start to incorporate them, you could get some pushback from your employees and staff and leadership because they're used to like not having accountability, like they're used to doing it their way. And so we're experiencing some of that in some of our companies because we're either changing the documentation or it wasn't documented well after we looked at it. And sometimes people don't like change. They just don't like change, whether it's good or bad. Like as humans, we love consistency, but we hate change. But the process would bring consistency. But to incorporate that process, first must create change. So you're going to get pushback from people. So don't let the pushback stop you from doing it. Don't let it slow you down. Don't let you think it's not important. Like when someone says, oh, why do I have to follow this? Or I already know how to do the job. because it's going to create consistency in that role and scalability for your company in the future. But it's so, so important to have things documented. That's my jam. Like, don't even get me started. So love that topic. So when it comes to staying motivated, like innovative, how do you stay motivated to just continually stay in it, to continually innovate?
This is a hard question. This is also something I struggle with. But I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of people, and there are a few things that are important to me. And one of them hugely is having a work-life balance. It is huge. And you know the saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. When I am working all day, every day, my cup is completely empty. And taking time with my family for self-care. Self-care is so, so important. And it's different for everybody. It could be something simple, like going for a run in the morning, or it could be something bigger, like going on a vacation. Like there are different kinds of self-care that work for everybody. It could be as simple as putting on makeup in the morning. That's actually a very big form of self-care for me. Taking time to practice self-care, taking time for yourself, taking time away from your business and separating it is huge for me. If I work all the time, I experience major burnout and I will spiral, and I've done it before. And then you start to resent your business and you start to resent your job, and you get frustrated. And I've been there. So the biggest way for me to stay motivated is actually to not work all the time. It sounds so intuitive, but it's true. It's really important.
So you're funny because it is very important. I love that. And so, we have to have those daily rituals, whatever you need to be balanced. But I'm reading the 80-20 rule. It's an old book. It's a classic. I'm rereading it, but it's funny because I want to touch on a couple things he talks about in the book, because you just said what keeps me motivated is not working, right? So he talks about there's 4 types of people in business, right? There's the lazy and stupid. There's the hardworking and intelligent. There's the hardworking but stupid. And then there's the intelligent lazy. And in the book, it talks about how all of them kind of have their place in where each person goes. But it's the intelligent and lazy combination that are the most successful people.
I need to read this book.
Yeah. And he uses the U.S. military to compare sergeants versus generals versus where they are, and they use each one of those explanations to put them in a bucket. But it's funny because he uses Bill Gates, that he's intelligent but lazy. Why? Because he doesn't worry about his clothes. He doesn't care about certain things. He's intelligent and very good at a very specific thing, and that's it. But he's lazy, in other areas of life that people would call him lazy or boring. But he also works very little because he needs that to then work very deeply at the thing he's good at. It's that specialized role. But I love the category. So to be more successful, I have to be lazier. It's a joke, but it was in the book.
It's kind of true though. You can't, you're gonna burn out if you're working, if you're giving your business 80 to 100 hours a week, you're just not, you can't, you physically and mentally and emotionally cannot. So you do need to save your brain power and what you're, and don't try to do everything. Don't do it all the time. Delegation is so big for me right now,
Yeah. And the reason too the lazy part comes in, he says, it's because when we've had the best times in our life, the best ideas, it's because our mind was clear. And you cannot come to those thoughts if your mind is full. So it needs to be lazy. When you're on vacation, when you're taking a walk, you're being lazy. So it allows the brain to innovate and to be creative and to think of new thoughts and ideas. And so you have to be lazy to get to that level. And it's just so weird because lazy is such a negative word in like to us.
Yeah, I find that, and I do this sometimes. I do this more than I'd like to admit. I beat myself up when I'm not constantly like doing something that someone would consider productive, something on the business, working on the website, working on my personal brand, all these things. But it is so important to sometimes just take time, go out to dinner with a loved one, go on that walk, go, take a long bath, watch a Netflix show. Like, sometimes it does mean that you just need to like relax and turn it off, take time to meditate and things like that. But it's easy for people, and I'm sure some of your listeners might be like, oh, no, like I'm not. No, I'm going to work forever and just, I need to be productive 24/7. But sometimes taking time off is productive for you and for your brain, and it leads to like better productivity in the long run in your business and honestly in any project that you're doing. So I love it. I love it.
Okay, so our last question is, through your journey, what would you have done differently knowing what you know now?
This is an easy one for sure. I would have definitely I would have found a mentor like way earlier, trying to do it on my own. And we started our business with no money, no business education. I mean, we both have bachelor's degrees, but mine's in journalism, hers is in acting. I mean, way out of left field to do this. But we thought we were like, oh, we got that. Like a cleaning business, that's easy. We got
it's
this.
Easy.
Like, it's easy. It's cheap. Right? Like a joke. But to just seek out help earlier on would have been the number one thing I would have did differently. And I think I would have avoided a lot of the chaos that we endured. And like it would have to be a whole other podcast episode if y'all wanted the tea on that, because there was just a lot of chaos in our company. And I cringe thinking about all the stuff we've been through and we let people do to us. And I feel like a mentor early on would have really just saved us from all that. So to have a mentor, even the best mentors have mentors. So
100%.
Yes.
My mentors have mentors, and my goal is to have their mentors mentor me, because I'm like, ooh, they must be really expensive if that's my mentor's mentor. So 100%. So Holly, I want to thank you so much for being a guest on the Fearlessness Podcast. So what's next for you, and where can our listeners / viewers find you? We'll make sure to put these in the show notes as well.
Well, we are definitely working on our cleaning company brand. We're just at Chores and More. We're on TikTok. We are on Instagram as well. I also have my personal brand. If you want to just follow my personal journey, it's at Planning and Polish. I love to talk about paper planning, but I'm also, obsessed with beauty and things like that. So I like to have fun with it. So you can find me over there, and I'm at Holly Silva on Facebook as well. And you can just see a lot more of us, like a lot more educational content, both cleaning related, business owner related. You can just find a lot of really good stuff in the works coming, and I'm really excited. So I hope to be able to connect with some of you guys, all your listeners. I'm really excited. Thank you so much, Libby, for having me on today.
Thank you for being a guest. I want to thank you so much, and thank our listeners as well. If you want to find more episodes of the Fearlessness Podcast, you can just visit thefearlessness.com. I also want to thank our sponsor, WootRecruit, who helps sponsor the podcast. That way we can bring you guys new episodes every single week. So that is a wrap, guys, into the heart of fearlessness. Remember, every step we take is a move towards our own strength and courage. Keep walking through those fires of hell, because on the other side of you lies a version of yourself that's unstoppable. I'm Libby, reminding you to embrace your fearlessness. Until next time, stay brave, stay bold, and keep pushing forward.